Hello and welcome to another edition of the Migration Stories. This is Balagopal, editor of ukmalayali.com. Today we have an update from the Nursing and Midwifery Council of NHS. It's in relation to the new English language requirements for the newly arriving nurses into the UK. For the last couple of years, the Nursing and Midwifery Council had launched a consultation giving people a chance to have their say on the proposed changes to the language requirements. Now, following the last 2 years consultations, the new English language requirements are going to be implemented beginning of February. Dr. Agimol Pradeep and Dr. Dilla Davis. Dr. Agimol Pradeep is a senior liver transplant coordinator at King's College London and project lead at NHS Blood Transplant, and Dr. Dilla Davis, nursing lecturer at the University of Salford, were the people those who have been calling for changes to the stringent NMC English language requirements. They have been campaigning for more than the last 2 years on behalf of thousands of India trained nurses who have been unable to pass the language test and achieve the registration despite living and working in the UK as healthcare assistants for several years. Now their efforts have paved way for NMC to launch a more lenient and understanding way of how to get these healthcare assistants registered as nurses in the UK. To talk to us about the new changes with NMC has launched, today we have Dr. Agimol Pradeep with us. Dr. Agimol, welcome to UK Malayali. The government notification says that Nursing and Midwifery Council's English language requirements will start to be implemented at the beginning of February. So we would like to hear from you in regards to on what these changes are, how it is going to be implemented, and what impact it has got in regards to those internationally trained nurses who are coming to the UK.
Sure. Thank you, Bala. Thank you for the opportunity. So the Nursing and Midwifery Council is the independent registration body in the UK for any nurses who wish to practice in the UK as registered nurses. So they have to complete the registration process with the NMC to obtain their personal identification number, we call it as PIN number, before they can practice as registered nurses. So internationally educated nurses like nurses from India, Philippines, or any other Asian countries, when they come over here, they have to go through an English language test. The rationale behind that, they said, was even though most of these nurses have completed their training in English language, the clinical communication part, they were asking for the 70% of clinical communication in English. That was the area we could improve from, especially the nurses from India. For example, we know that in the South Indian nurses who goes and study in North India, most of the time we will be communicating in English to our counterparts. But when it comes to patient care, we may be speaking their local language. So that was the hindrance for the NMC to accept, saying that even though we are trained in English, the clinical communication part of that, proving that 70% of communication was the issue they have been highlighting. And also we noted when they were asking for the OET, Occupational English Test, or the International English Language Test, those were the two accepted English language test for the internationally educated nurses accepted by NMC. And when we looked into the scoring system, what they have got currently, for example, for IELTS, they are asking overall 7, and they wanted 6.5 in the writing section and at least 7 in the reading, listening, and speaking. And also, I think when we were looking into that, we said, it's at quite a high level. In master's level, they're asking that. But of course, they have not reviewed that grade yet. Instead, what we managed to do, the NMC to accept for the time being, is to acknowledge the nurses who are working here as unregistered nurses, but they have got the proof of training in English that they can submit by a transcript or whatever the evidence they have. And then if they have been in the UK for over 2 years and working in under the same employer for 12 months, and the employer is able to provide the evidence of their listening and speaking. So those are the two areas the NMC will be asking the employer to provide the evidence, because they are happy to accept the writing and the reading from the training aspect, from the English part of the point of the view. They are providing the supporting evidence to the employer to inform the NMC that they are competent enough in their English speaking and listening skills. So with that, these nurses, if they can prove that 12 months working under the same employer and completing 37.5 hours per week, so they have to be full-time. So when we went back asking about the nurses who are, for example, when they haven't got a permanent contract, some of them may be working as agency nurses due to their family commitments. The reassurance what we have been given is, as long as they're working under one employer, even though they haven't got a permanent contract, and they are able to prove that they are working 37.5 hours under that employer, and the employer is able to support, then yes, they will be able to get that supporting evidence from them. That is replacing the English language test.
Okay, so how many nurses would this benefit, and what is the changes which will happen to those nurses, those who are waiting for this to happen? What impact will have to them? Roughly, how many are there, and how it is going to now facilitate or help them to get registered?
Unfortunately, we don't have the accurate number, but anecdotal evidence tells me that there are more than 8,000 nurses who are in this category waiting to be registered as nurses. So when NMC is implementing this change, they are implementing two major changes. One is the clubbing score period. So when someone has done an English language test, that either OET or IELTS, currently they have to achieve the obtained score within the 6 months duration. But now with the change, what's going to happen is it's going to be extended to 12 months. So anyone who have managed to obtain the current score within, by sitting 3 or 4 times, it doesn't matter. As long as it's within 12 months, they will be able to combine that score and get that approved by the NMC to obtain their registration process. And also another suggestion NMC put forward is, if anyone who just missed on 0.5 score, for example, they have had a 6.5 on every 6.5 on the writing and 7 on the reading and listening, but just 0.5 missed on the speaking part. For that part, the employer can provide that evidence, supporting evidence, and they will be able to complete their registration process through that. Moving forward, midsummer, they will review again and see what else they can do to support, because we did ask about a lot of other nurses who completed their education in the UK, following their basic nursing qualification in India. The NMC they said they will look into it, and also they will be reviewing the current scoring system as well. But that's all after summer. But at the moment, the two major changes: one is the clubbing score period duration is increased from 6 months to 12 months, and the second one is the employer supporting information. So it's not employer reference, it is employer supporting information, which will be sent to the employer directly. And the two areas the employer will be confirming are the listening and the speaking.
One question I want to ask Dr. Agimol is, we see a lot of advertisements in Kerala to say that we can give you the English language certification. You can do a course and you can get that. And then when you go to UK, you can get the PIN number. Is that right? Or I don't know what that is. If you can explain.
So, as mentioned, NMC has approved only 2 English language tests, that's OET and IELTS. So whatever training they do, they have to go through this test, and they have to upload the certificate to show that achieved score, the asking score have been achieved, then only they'll be able to complete. It's not any agencies can provide that certificate. It is the nurses have to complete that exam through the proper channel in order to get the certificate.
NMC hasn't given any private organizations or bodies for them to issue certificates on behalf of doing their IELTS test.
No, as far as I'm aware, no. Even for the nurses who we are talking about, this practitioners who are working as unregistered, going to get support from their employer evidence, also will be going through the CBT and OSCE in order for them to get the PIN number. The best advice I can give to any nurses who want to come to UK, try your level best to clear the English language test. So through that route, you have got free recruitment. So you're not paying any money. You're not going to be cheated by any private agencies. So you can get directly to NHS and get your life settled. As a nurse, I think UK is one of the best country you can practice and you can develop academically and clinically compared to many other countries. So any of the nurses, if you speak to who have progressed their academic life, I think it may be because we are here, we are able to kind of climb through those ladders. So the nurses who are wishing to migrate to UK, I will still encourage them to do so. Despite of hearing all the negative stories, I think the nurses do get respect in the UK in their career, whatever position they are in. So clearing the English language test is the best thing for any nurses to come over to the UK and come through a NHS portal rather than coming through any private agencies. Anyone who is not in a nursing career at the moment, but they wish to proceed with the nursing in the UK, there are many universities taking students to get trained as nurses. So even non-nurses who are in the UK already have joined many universities to pursue their nursing. Yeah.
So these nurses back in India, they can make an application directly to this NHS trust without having to pay the agency fees.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of websites, NMC. Yeah. If they look at any hospitals, if they if as long as they know where which area they're looking for, they can check into their websites and they can apply directly. In the NMC application also, they don't need to be in the UK to start their NMC application process. They can do that from home.
Okay. And you said that this new language test requirements are going to be implemented in February. Can you just say that you said about the website? When is it going to be implemented? And you also said that a few nurses have already got the PIN numbers. If you can elaborate a bit more on that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So 27th January, they have implemented the first phase where they have the system went through a mild change. That's why over the weekend, the NMC website was down because they were doing all the maintenance work to adopt these changes. From this week, we have seen the nurses who have submitted their application and was waiting for this clubbing score 12-month duration to be accepted. So some of them have got their PIN number already in the last 48 hours. So I'm hopeful to hear more of those nurses getting their PIN number in the next 5 days. And the second phase is the one which we are going to contact the employers directly. So anyone who have submitted their application already, NMC will contact them individually and ask them to provide the employer email address. So they will need to provide 2 email addresses. One for the 2 of them need to be the NMC registrants as well. So one may be their immediate manager, or one that can be their matron or head of nurse or someone like that, so that they can countersign that employer evidence. So the candidates are not going to get those employer evidence format. It will be sent to the employer directly. So the NMC is going to contact the applicant seeking their help to provide them the employer details. So they need to be careful in giving that email address without any spelling errors or typos, mistakes or anything like that, so that NMC can contact those managers directly with that supporting. So I was lucky to be part of that, the group who did that pilot run of looking through the employer evidence format, and it's not really tricky format at all. It's very simple. NMC have made it very simple, so it's only asking about the speaking and the listening aspect of it, and hopefully it will be straightforward for the employer to complete.
Thank you, Ajimol, for answering our questions today and giving us a brief insight into the new changes and how it is going to have an impact on there's internationally trained nurses those who are coming to the UK. And I'm sure that you should be able to answer some of the questions if there are any which is coming in from our readers.
Yeah. Thank you, Bala. Yeah, if any nurses who are listening to this, if you have submitted your application, please keep an eye out on your portal, NMC portal, because that's where they're going to update all the information. And so keep an eye out on your email as well. They will be sending the updates to you directly. So wishing you all the best. And if there is anything I can be any help, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
That brings us an end to this particular session about the updates about the English language requirements from NMC. If you have any queries in relation to NMC, like English language requirements, please do put your on the comments box, and we will have that answered by experts, including Dr. Agimol Pradeep. And please do not forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Until we meet next, this is Balagopal signing off. Thank you.